Track pant is a versatile, essential wardrobe item and quick to create. Choice of lengths given, you can adjust these to a length you desire. You can even make it with a nice flannel for pajama. Pattern pieces. You'll need a track pant front and back, and both of these you're cutting 2 on the straight grain. Cutting your fabric. On the straight grain you lay your front panel for your track pants and your back panel, pin them on and cut around the pattern pieces as close as possible, especially on the curved edges, and when you've finished cutting it out, a mark for front and back at the crotch. Okay, the first thing that we sew is the side seam, and to do that we put the right side facing of one front leg to one back leg matching at the side seam, and we pin it from the top to the bottom, and I like to sew the legs from the waist to the cuff on the side seam. So pin the top and the bottom first and pin in between, and then we're ready to sew. We're going to sew this with a zigzag stitch, length 3mm, width 3mm. Back stitch at the beginning of your seam and at the end, and don't race because it's a straight line and a long one, just take your time. And once we've sewn the seam, we're going to press it towards the back panel on the inside, on the wrong side, and also on the outside. So it's a nice crisp seam. See how I'm sort of pushing it out of the way? And then we're going to top stitch it. Now we can top stitch it with just a single straight stitch, or we can top stitch it with twin needle, which means we're neating the edge at the same time as giving it a nice professional look. Right, we're going to do the hem, and we fold the lower edge of the track pant to the wrong side with a 1.5cm hem, pin and top stitch it on the right side with the same top stitching you did for the leg side seam. So for example, I would be doing it with a twin needle because that's what I did originally. And you'll need to trim away the excess fabric and press from the wrong side. Inner leg seam. With the right sides facing, pin the inner leg seam of one leg together. Pin it at the hem and at the crotch, and then pin in between. At the hem, make sure that you've got the hem even for sewing, as you have already hemmed it. If you want to have ribbing as your hem, you can do that by not doing number 2, the hem stage, and doing the ribbing at the end. Follow the sweatshirt rules for hem. And press that side seam towards the back. Use a bit of cardboard underneath to make it firm. Right, doing the crotch, we have to turn one leg right side out and slip it inside the other leg. It's quite bulky being sweatshirt fabric. Make sure you line up the inner leg seams and pin those first, and then pin at the front waist and the back waist, and pin in between those two to secure your seam. And you're going to sew the seam from the front of the waist to the back of the waist. We're all ready to go. Sewing with zigzag, and because it's a curved seam we're going to take our time, move it around slowly, and make sure we've got a 1cm seam allowance at all times. And when we finish the seam, we're going to clip it to release any tension, and we're going to neaten the seam to increase the strength as well, and we can press the seam on a tailor's ham towards one side to make it look nice and professionally pressed. Waist opening for the track pants. First of all, you need to get a piece of elastic that fits snugly around your child's waist, the 2 cm overlap which you zigzag closed. Pop it inside the waistband of the track pants and fold it over with about 1 centimetre of sweatshirting fabric past the elastic, and pin in place on the right side. And you're going to sew that on the right side with the top stitching method you used for the side seam and the hems. Trim away excess fabric and iron on the wrong side.